Hey, this is Trey with Snow Performance and Nitrous Express. Today we're going to look at a setup on my personal truck. We're using a Snow Performance Stage 3 controller as well as a 7-gallon tank in the bed to help with towing purposes on my personal truck. This deal features a supercharger, free-flowing exhaust, and all the performance that we could get naturally aspirated. We were noticing really high intake temperatures as well as high EGTs. Once we put this on here, we saw great improvements in both those areas, as well as improvements in fuel mileage. So today we'd like to show you in the truck and see how it actually works. Alright, so here's what we're going to do is we're going to start off the same point without water methanol at first. So we're going to make this big trip, this big loop around our city while pulling this 8,500 pound camper. This will be without water methanol, and then we'll come back to the same exact point. We'll see what had happened or see what the gauges show. That way we know a good starting point so we can reference and see how much the water methanol improves our performance. Then we'll make the same trip with the water methanol on and see what we come up with.
So we got the scanner up. We're going to watch both IAT, knock retards over here, and then there's also the EGT temp up here. So this will all be on the screen for you as well. Those are the three areas you'll want to watch to look at the differences between no water methanol and water methanol being turned on.
All right, let's hit it.
Okay, here we go. So to make sure it's an adequate test between, we're gonna make it fair. I'm gonna go over here and go ahead and reset my best score so we can kind of see what's going on here. As you see right now, we're averaging about 8.4 miles a gallon. We'll see this is a little bit with the truck unloaded as well. So we'll see what it truly is by the time we come back here with the camper, and then we'll turn the water methanol on and see if we get any improvements. There we go.
Before we stop this one, can you see is there any information on that display you can tell us about?
So you can see our average, this is over the last 25 miles, has gone down to 7 miles a gallon. That's about right. Normally, I mean, there was some of it figured in that it was unloaded before I put the travel trailer on here, but 6.5 to 7 is about what it used to average without water methanol on it.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you've got your controller configured, Trey?
Yeah, so the way I've got it set up here, I'll kind of go through it. Right now we're going to start increasing water methanol injection at about 45% of our fuel rail pressure, which is what this screen here is. It will have full water methanol by the time it hits 60% fuel rail pressure. That will help in the case of if you're really under a heavy load but you don't have a whole lot of airflow. That will help not inject too much water methanol and choke it whenever it's under load. Because I do want this deal running almost the entire time it's in boost, I have the start pressure at 1 psi. and then at full at 8 psi. That's about all this blower's set up to do is 8 psi. It will sometimes get a little bit higher than that, but I want it at full I want full water methanol once it hits 8 psi. We have it where it's controlling 50-50 on the fuel rail pressure reading as well as boost, so it looks at both of them and makes a kind of a two-dimensional map of the control of the water methanol. This controller also has a boost or a power mode enabled on it. We don't have that on this truck, which what that is it would be a secondary stage that once it sees a set amount of boost, it would kick on a second stage. In my case, I just don't have that need for this pickup. So once we get all the way back to the home screen, you can see we've got our pressure at 0, fuel rail pressure currently is at 31%, and it is at 0% of injection. So since we've sat here, we're down to about 6.9 average on our fuel economy. I do, of course, have the water methanol turned back on, and we're going to make that same exact loop and come to this same point, and we'll see what we find.
Overall, I mean, you can see IET's coming down, knock retard was quite a bit less, and also the catalytic converter temperature was lower as well. So overall, great improvement.
Well, that's great. What did you notice, Trey?
Well, one thing I noticed right off the bat, whenever we took off, once it kind of got a little ways down the road, the fuel mileage kind of averaged out to about 6.7 miles per gallon. Now that we've stopped, and this was climbing up until the point we stopped, it's now up to 7.6. So, I mean, even if a little bit of difference there will result in a much longer time to, not have to fill up your tank. The other thing I noticed is, because you still had all that mid-range power, your truck wasn't having to lug its load as much. It wasn't high up in the RPM. It was much quieter in cab. It was just a much more, I guess, relaxing experience to tow this thing. You're not having to listen to the motor scream and all that. So, and you're not having to worry about anything getting hurt, because, I mean, it dramatically reduced all of the stuff that was alarmingly hot.
Well, that's great. Snow Performance Water Methanol System. I think anybody that has a supercharged application needs one of these and can benefit from installing one.
I agree.